There were certain things early on where I was like, you got to have this thing, got to do this thing, got to communicate in this way. And I was like, oh, I am not living that to the fullest extent that I possibly could be. So I need to go back and do that. There are very few hills I'm willing to die on when it comes to some of this work. But like, there are some things where it's like, if I don't do it, there's literally no way that I can get someone else to do it.
You doing it creates evidence that it works as well, right? Like, you get to see some of the ins and outs of all the advice that you're giving to know like, oh, this is actually shit advice. I should not be telling you to do this. It doesn't work.
To circumvent and short circuit all the problems along the way, like, oh, I've lived through this. I know how to prevent this from being a disaster, right? Because I've done it enough times. There's like that curve of the time to value and the number of times you've executed things. When you have done something one time, it takes the longest amount of time to create value. And the more you do it, the less time it takes. Like, that's the whole reason for all of this. It's like, the more often I can run this play, starting with yourself, the easier it's going to get to figure it out or to create value. Oftentimes you realize like, I bloated this process. That was one of the things that I learned very early on after I'm working with solopreneur number like 15 at the time. And I was like furiously ripping things out of my program. I was like, don't need this, don't need this. This didn't amount to the thing I wanted to. This work was just like a tangent. It set us off in this other direction and it was nice to have, but we didn't need it. And you get ruthless with your scope. You're like, these are only the things that I need in order to get to the result. And then it's like, all right, now this is basically airtight. Run that play as many times as possible with making few changes because we've gotten there. And now it's like, okay, now we have everything in place. And now how good can I get at doing this? Can I do it in 6 months? Can I do it in 3 months? Can I do it in 2 months? Can I do it in 2 weeks? Like, how far can you push it in terms of time delay?
It's like the levels of expertise, right? Like, a newer expert is going to take that time. They got to run you through all these different processes because they can't spot the patterns as fast. But when you realize where those patterns are actually originating from within your work, you can get rid of everything else, right? We separate the 80%, so we have the 20% that actually makes a difference. And now you can look at that, spot the patterns, and just rapidly get through this.